So what is a Terraform? Why do we need Terraform for DevOps? Let us try to analyze these things before we get into the hands-on for Terraform. See, Terraform is an infrastructure provisioning tool. Again, what is infrastructure provisioning? If you see, we have created our CI/CD pipeline still now, where the pipeline in the pipeline it's pulling the code, compiling, building, executing some test cases, then deploying it, right? Deploying it onto Kubernetes cluster or EKS cluster. So this is a CI/CD pipeline we have created, but there is a manual step involved, if you notice, where we were like creating the EC2 instances or the cluster manually, right? So that's where Terraform can fit into provision the infrastructure, means it can help you create the infrastructure, right? This is what Terraform does. It is basically into provisioning the infrastructure, means creating the infrastructure. Your infrastructure could be on cloud, like on any cloud like AWS, GCP or Azure. It can help you provision the infrastructure. It can help you manage your infrastructure, like later on if you want to modify, if you want to make any changes, all of that it can help. It can also help you replicating your infrastructure, right? Like let's suppose you have a infrastructure for dev environment. You want to have a similar kind of infrastructure, but different configurations for prod. It can help you replicate the infrastructure, provision, like initially create it, manage it, replicate it, right? It can help you do all of these things with Terraform. Your infrastructure might be very huge, right? How do you do that? And how the Terraform help you do it? Terraform implements the concept called IAC. What is meant by IAC? Infrastructure as a code concept. Infrastructure as code means you look at the infrastructure in the form of the code, or else you manage the infrastructure or you handle the infrastructure with code, which is called infrastructure as a code concept. Terraform implements this infrastructure as a code concept where you write the code which will manage your infrastructure. So yeah, here Terraform code is written in HCL, right? HashiCorp language. This is the language Terraform uses, which is declarative. Declarative meaning you define what you need, what infrastructure, what configurations you need. How to do it will be manipulated or will be evaluated at the end by Terraform. Right? Finally, it will help you create the infrastructure. This is what is infrastructure as a code, which uses HCL as a language. Right? So this is what Terraform does. And also there were so many configuration management tools. What is a configuration management tool? Configuration management is about having control over the infrastructure, right? This is very important when your infrastructure is very huge. Having control over the infrastructure in the sense you need to know what configurations, what type of infrastructure, right? Like what changes the infrastructure has gone through, which is called configuration management, right? So there were so many tools which help us achieve this, like Ansible, Puppet, Chef, Salt, and many others. So these are the configuration management tools, right? Configuration management tools, like I said, yes, they help you achieve, implement any configurations on your infrastructure. They also uses infrastructure as a code concept. Each tool uses some language to implement this infrastructure as code concept. Ansible uses YAML. Puppet uses Puppet DSL, Puppet domain specific language, which is Ruby based. Chef uses something else, and so on. So each tool uses a different configuration, different language to configure the infrastructure. So what is the difference between configuration management tool and Terraform? Were they same? Yeah. So they overlap each other actually, but Terraform is more into provisioning rather than configuring. It can do configuration management as well. See, configuration management is basically to configure, to modify, to make any changes to your infrastructure. Or and also, like let's say some changes are done. this tool helps you have the complete details or the history of what changes this particular infrastructure has gone through. To have the detailed history and to have that good control configuration management tool helps. Whereas Terraform, yes, Terraform can also be used for configuration management, but it's more into infrastructure provisioning rather than configuration management. So were they same? They were not same. Like Terraform, like just now I said, it is more into provisioning. These tools will configure the infrastructure once they are provisioned, but they can also be used to vice versa. Means Terraform can be used to configure the infrastructure and vice versa. And Ansible, these configuration management tools can help you provision the infrastructure. But their strength lies in those particular areas. Like Terraform is more into provisioning. These tools were more into configuring. Right? Let's see more differences between them. See, Terraform is a tool for building, changing, versioning infrastructure as we use IAC, infrastructure as code concept. Obviously, we have a code which can be version controlled. Means your Terraform, basically your Terraform code is version controlled. It means your infrastructure is version controlled, right? So yeah, Terraform is open source, uses declarative language. It helps in infrastructure provisioning, which uses the concept of IAC. In Terraform code is written in HashiCorp language HCL. Ansible versus Terraform. Right, actually, like I said, they overlap each other. You can use Terraform to configure and Ansible to provision, but their strength lies in configuration management, whereas Terraform strength is with provisioning the infrastructure. So that is the difference. And Ansible is basically a product from Red Hat, and it's a configuration management. Like, let's say you have 100 servers. Ansible can help you understand the infrastructure in detail, which tool is present or which configurations were done on which server at what time. This kind of detail history it can provide you. It can help you configure the infrastructure. Your infrastructure may be scaling up, but still Ansible can help you control it or handle it better. And it's a bit older tool than Terraform, so obviously it's a more mature and Terraform is new compared to Ansible. Both uses the concept of infrastructure as a code. And yeah, by the way, you might be having question, which tool you should use. Like I said, they were two different tools. A combination will help you rather than using one tool for provisioning and managing. You use Terraform to provision, Ansible to configure it. Right? That's the combination is a great option. And yeah, now that we understood what Terraform does, we will understand how Terraform works. Before going to that, any questions on this part from anyone?
Uh, Priti, which is widely used at the industry level?
Combination is used. Both are used as a combination.
Okay.
Now let us talk about the Ansible architecture. Terraform architecture. Terraform has got two major or the main components called the core and the providers. Core, as the name says, it is the Terraform core component, right? The main component of Terraform. And the other one is providers. First, let's talk about core. Core is the main core component, actual heart of Terraform. And it takes two inputs, right? The first input is Terraform config file written by Terraform users like us. We write Terraform config files, they'll be with extension .tf, right? You write a Terraform config file which will create the infrastructure. So that's a first input. Second input is it will take this Terraform config file. It will validate this Terraform config files, right? And let's say this core component will validate this Terraform config files and it will create a Terraform plan. Plan is nothing but a document, right? Which will help you create the infrastructure. Meaning, plan is the component or the document which will create this infrastructure, like how many servers should be there, right? All of that planning will be done by this Terraform core. Terraform core will create the plan, like what steps it should take to implement or to achieve this infrastructure, right? That kind of plan will be created by Terraform core. But how does it create the plan? It will take this Terraform config and also the state files. See, whenever Terraform config file is applied for the first time, whenever this file is applied for the first time, it will create a Terraform state file with extension. The file extension would be .tf state, which will have the actual state of the infrastructure. And this will have the state of the infrastructure, isn't it? So Terraform core takes these two as the inputs, Terraform config files and Terraform state files, which will have the actual state and the desired state. It will compare them and it will create a plan, which is called Terraform plan. Terraform plan is like a document which will have the steps it need to go through to achieve this infrastructure, right? So that's what are the two inputs, Terraform config files and the state files. By comparing them, it will create a plan. Plan will help us know what are all the resources will be created, what are all the changes this will go through, right? Once Terraform creates this plan, how does that plan will be applied? How to apply? Let's suppose the design is I want to create two EC2 instances, right? Actually, there were no EC2 instances as of now. So this will create a plan to create those two EC2 instances. But how is that plan implemented or achieved? That's where comes a second core component called providers. What is a provider? Provider is like a add-on or a program, whatever you call it, right? This provider gives access to hundreds of resources on that particular provider. Means there were so many hundreds of providers like AWS provider, Azure provider, GCP provider, Kubernetes provider, and so on. To interact with each platform, there is a provider. So Terraform plan calls that particular provider. When you call AWS provider, it gives access to hundreds of resources it can automate on AWS. If it calls GCP provider, this provider will give access to all the resources on GCP which it can automate. So providers are basically programs, or else it's nothing but the some Terraform code which will help you connect with that particular API, right? That's what is a provider. Without provider, Terraform cannot work. There were hundreds of providers. When you install Terraform, you don't get all these providers by default. You have to install whichever provider you need, right? To have better understanding, let me show you this provider. Am I good now, or is the voice still breaking? I could see the message saying that voice is breaking.
A little bit breaking in between.
Okay, give me a minute. How about now? Hello.
Yeah,
Let
it's
me
good.
know.
Yes,
All
yes.
right. Yeah, let me know if you still see the breaking. So these are the two components. Let's see what are these providers actually. So Terraform providers, if you go to Terraform registry, see you can see registry.terraform.io. There were hundreds of providers for Terraform. See here, providers are a logical abstraction to an upstream API. If you want to interact with an API, this will help you. They are responsible for understanding API instructions. See, so many providers are there. Out of them, these are all provided by HashiCorp, and community providers were there. Here you can see, right? Official providers are owned and maintained by Terraform, by HashiCorp. What is the partner providers? If you keep the cursor, it will show you all of that. You can choose this filter, say AWS provider, Azure provider, and so on. And there were so many other providers, partner providers provided by the partners. So you can see there were multiple pages, hundreds of providers. If you know working with one provider, you can work with any other provider, right? So let's look into this AWS provider. If you click a particular provider, there it says how to use this provider. See, you need not write this code from scratch. You have all the code. You have to use this code so that it will download this provider from HashiCorp. It's AWS provider version 5.16 means you can understand this is like an executable. You can download this executable. Using this, you can connect to the AWS provider to automate anything. See what this provider does: lifecycle management of AWS services, including EC2, Lambda, AKS, ECS, and so on. It can help you work with all of these resources. If you still want to know more, go for documentation. Another thing is Terraform has got a great documentation. Close to speaker mic. Am I audible, everyone, or still you are having any issue?
You're audible, but we are hearing some minute sounds like which is. I think you are very close to mic.
No, not actually. How about now?
Yeah, but we are able to understand like what you are trying to say. Like, but only thing in between we are hearing some bristling sounds. Like,
Mm, How about now? Is it better now?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. Mm. So yeah, this is the AWS provider. Right, and the best thing of Terraform is Terraform has got very good documentation, very clean documentation, which will provide you all the information. Right, documentation is very great for Terraform. Always we use documentation to refer in real practice also. Also for certifications, Terraform documentation is allowed. Even in the interviews, like some of you were saying in the beginning, or you or someone in the, like some participants would be asking, there is some like coding round in the DevOps. Do we need coding? It's nothing but this thing. Okay, like a Terraform coding means this one. It's not that you write from the scratch the whole logic. Or you refer from here and do it. It is also human readable. It's very easy to understand. Anyone can understand. Even all the options, everything was explained in here. In the certification exam also, you are allowed to refer this document. Even in the interviews also, you are allowed to refer. You can ask that you want to refer. That they will definitely allow. You are not expected to write line by line all this. This is not called coding like developers do. I would say it is a scripting or else a template which you can modify and use it. So it would be very simple. It needs little effort and practice and understand what it is. And firstly, you should be flexible enough uh, and think in a way that you can do it. It's not a coding or something different. That's all you need to have. And see here a documentation, a clean and clear documentation. See here uses the AWS provider to interact with many resources supported by AWS. There were hundreds of resources supported by AWS, right? Like EC2 service, AKS service, S3 service. These are all resources. So this provider help you interact with those resources. You must configure the provider with the proper credentials before using it. Means you should use your AWS credentials like access key, secret key to connect with this. Okay. Use the navigation to the left to read about available resources. See, Navigation on the left to read. There are currently 1248 resources, 513 data sources available in the provider. Right? What is this resource? Let's understand. In Terraform, we use resource block. I'll show you in some time. See, like this. There is a resource block. See, what this code is doing also, it was showing. It will create a VPC. Instead of you going and creating, you going to the AWS console and creating the VPC like we did on the last class, this will help you create a VPC. See, a type of the resource is AWS VPC. Any name you may give. And CIDR block, the IP address range for your VPC. Making sense? So resources are nothing but which will help you create your resources or create your infrastructure. What is a data source also we'll see. First here, let's suppose I want to create an instance. There is something like you search with AWS instance. So yeah, see here resources. There is something like AWS instance resource. And again, documentation on it provides an easy to instance resource. It will help you create it. This allows instances to be created, updated, deleted. Instances also support provisioning. Got it? See here, how do you write? You copy from here and use it, it will create an instance. As simple as that. So resource, type of the resource. This is actually which resource you want, either EC2 resource or EKS resource. You have everything in this document. So the AMI, we'll choose an AMI, right? An instance type and some tags if you want. Is it difficult to understand this block? That will create an instance, that's all. So it is very simple and definitely very helpful and interesting tool, which everyone should know. Terraform has got a good demand in the market. Everyone should learn it. Only you should have open mind, open for learning, that's all. It's not nothing which depends on some coding or which depends on some backgrounds. No background required. Anyone can learn it with an open mind. Right? This is the resource block. You can copy and use it. That's it. Okay, we will look into all of them in detail. Don't worry if you still have questions. That's just an overview of what a provider is. Right? This is what a provider does. There are hundreds of providers. Each provider gives you access to hundreds of resources on that particular provider, on that particular platform, let's say. So that's how Terraform architecture works. There's a core component which takes Terraform config files and state file as an input. It will compare them and it will validate, it will create a plan, right? And it will apply the plan. That's all Terraform does. And how is Terraform setup possible? Terraform is set up on multiple, like you can set up Terraform on Windows or Linux or Mac, means on your local machine, on your laptop, you can configure Terraform and use it to automate your infrastructure. Right? So Terraform can be downloaded from here. And yeah, Terraform, like I said, they were all configuration files, which can be version controlled by Git. And here is where you can ignore certain sensitive files like state files, right? We'll see all of that. And then providers. See, like just now we learned providers or a logical abstraction of an upstream API. They're responsible for understanding API interactions and exposing the resources. Terraform has got vast number of AWS, Azure, GCP, and so on. So many providers. Each provider offers access to hundreds of resources. They help you connect to that particular API. And what are resources, what are data sources, changing, modifying the infrastructure, all of that we'll see. Some Terraform commands, what is Terraform state, output values, all of that we shall see. Let's begin with the Terraform setup. Good to go? Or any questions from anyone? All right, so let us go and install Terraform. Go to Google, type in download Terraform. Here you can see Terraform install document. See on whatever operating system you want, if it is your Mac, laptop, Windows, or Linux, wherever. Let's suppose you want to use Terraform from another instance of AWS. That also you can do. You can create an instance on AWS, go there and install Terraform if it is Linux. Depending on again your Linux distribution, Ubuntu, CentOS, Fedora, Amazon Linux is given separately. You can go with it. Mine is Windows. I would like to use Terraform from my Windows. So you can download this. You'll get a zip file downloaded.
Can we install it on a free tier on AWS?
Hmm?
Can we install this Terraform on free tier systems?
Yeah, you can. Terraform is open source. It's a free. You can install it any free instance. So you can see the Terraform installed as a zip file. Here it is. Do you see that? Extract it to a folder. And what you can do is once you extract it to your folder, get the path and add it as a environment variable. Environment variables, path variable. So here is my Terraform. Just it will download a zip file, extract the zip file and put the path in the path variable. Put that path in this variable. That's all. That's all is a Terraform setup, which is very simple. Now that you have installed it, if you go here, launch your git bash or any terminal. I would prefer using this git bash. Terraform version. Terraform command not found. I have installed this.
Installed means you have downloaded the file and configure the environment variable, right?
Yes, yes. Download
Ye-
the zip file, extract it, and put that path in this path
Okay, so
variable.
there is no separate installer or exe file available for installing this.
Hmm?
Like a setup file is not available, right? We can just download a folder and extract it. That's it.
Your voice is breaking only for me or for others also. I don't know whether the problem is from my end or your end. You are saying Terraform is downloaded means an exe file you're saying?
Yeah. See, like installing any software, we need executable installer file or MSI file, right? So that we can install it. So does this Terraform also have any executable file to install, or we can just download the folder and extract it and set up the environment variable? That's it.
Just download it, extract it, and set up the environment variable. That's all.
Okay. Okay.
Actually, extracted folder is missing. That's why I'm extracting now. Somehow extracted folder is gone. See, I just extracted now. Just now extracted. This is gone. So I extracted now. It should be working now. Okay. right? Terraform version or Terraform command. It was showing all the verbose, means Terraform is installed. That extracted folder is missing, that's why it doesn't work. All right, so that's how you download the zip file, extract it, put the path in the Terraform path, extracted folder path in the path variable. That's all. That's how you install Terraform. Okay, fine, Terraform is installed. Now I want to work with some provider. I want to automate some infrastructure on the cloud. So how to do that? So we would use this provider. We have to download or install this provider. We have just seen some time back, right? How to use the provider. This is the code. So where do you write the code? We would use this one, right? Like a VS Code editor. Create some folder and let's go to that folder to write some Terraform code. Here on the desktop, let me create a new folder for Terraform. Okay, an empty folder actually. Select this. Why there were some files here?
It was already existing.
Already it's there, it seems. Yeah, 1 minute.
In June, actually, you had created it.
Hmm. And let's create some folder and we'll put all Terraform configurations here. Okay, so now here let's create a file call. You can give any name. Generally, we give the main file as like the first file as main.tf. Right? See, when you give the extension .tf means Terraform config files, you can see the file type got changed. And I would like to use the terminal here itself. Git bash terminal. Right? Okay. Now I want to use this provider. So how to use the provider? Let us go here. See here it gives you the code to provide to configure to install this provider. So let us copy this. Let us go here, put this code. So and save it. So it says first it begins with Terraform block, then required providers. AWS, like I said, there were hundreds of providers. You don't get the providers by default. You have to install whichever provider you need. Okay, first let us install the provider, then we'll configure it. I am commenting this part. Okay, now here I just want to download the provider. So whenever you are configuring a new provider, you have to do something called Terraform init. Terraform init means initialize the Terraform. So it will download all the providers. See, initializing the backend, initializing the provider plugins. And this is the version I have given the latest version 5.16.1. It will download the provider. Let this finish. This is the folder actually. Yeah, the folder where we are creating the files. Let's go here. See, if you see at the back end, a folder called, give me a second. System is hanging. Let me close all of this. Okay, so at the back end, a folder called .terraform is created. And if you see the path, or this is the path, in the same folder .terraform. Okay, if you go to this folder, refresh this. View hidden files are there. Let us just right, .terraform created just now. And if you go here, right, there is a folder called again providers, right, registry.terraform.io and HashiCorp, AWS provider, right? So AWS, and yeah, the version we have, it's an executable, it's an exe. It's a Windows. On Windows, we have got the provider. And see, it's just nothing but an executable. Do you see that? That is what is downloaded when you install this Terraform. It just hanged up here, but it is installed, right? This is the folder, which is like you can see the size of it, right? So you can see the size. So it's so huge. It's not that you get all these providers by default when you install Terraform, which makes Terraform very huge. So all these providers, you will not get it. You have to install them, right? That's one thing. And another thing is, yeah, we are going to write Terraform config files and all. Okay, so it came up. See here, Terraform has created a log file. See another log file. What is this log file? This is to record the provider selections it made above. Like whatever versions you have installed, this log file will have the information of the providers you have. You see here some hashes for that provider and all the versions. So include this file in your version control so that Terraform can guarantee to make selections by default. See, whenever you do Terraform, like let's suppose your other team members want to use the same code. If the log file is present, that will help you stick to the version. So this log file is important to know the versions that's been used here in your Terraform. So Terraform directory is created, Terraform log file is created whenever you do Terraform init for the first time. And yeah, that's an executable. And it's an executable, it's so huge, you don't need to version control it or you don't need to manage it, correct? Yeah. So what you can do here is, here we don't want to version control them. What do we do actually? How to exclude this from version controlling? What should we do?
We can use dot ignore.
Git ignore, right?
Yeah.
So creating git ignore. That's where this is the practical real implementation of git ignore. Earlier we have used it to ignore some random dummy files, right? But this is the real use case. Terraform folder, this one should be excluded completely. So do Terraform in Terraform. Also now let's do Terraform in git init here. Right, .git might be created. So this is your project. Okay, you can do git add and all. If you want, you can also see here. Go to Terraform infra. You have got .git, .terraform, .git ignore, log file, and so many things already appeared. All right, fine. Okay, Terraform provider is installed. I'm all set to connect to AWS. But to connect to AWS, here you have to provide like which AWS account you will connect to, isn't it? So that's where this block comes into picture. So how do you do that? Configuration options. Which configuration options? You don't need to write from your end, okay? Those are all predefined. You have to use only those attributes. It's not that you use your own attributes, okay?
So Preeti, normally .gitignore would be a folder, right? Here you created some file.
.git ignore is a file. .git ignore is a file where you put all the file names you want to ignore. You want to exclude from version controlling. .git is a folder. .git ignore is a file which will have the names which you need to exclude. Okay, so this is your configure the AWS provider. Means what you will configure. You can configure the region, like which region you want to create your infrastructure. Also, see, this is the actual thing. Provider credentials can be provided by adding an optional access key, secret key this way. So you can copy this and use them. I want to create an AP South one. And provide your access key, secret key. By now, you know how to get your access key, secret key, right? So, but if you keep your access key, secret key, or version controlling those files, your secrets, your credentials will be exposed, which is not a best practice, right? So I'm commenting this again. Commenting is adding hash. You can do control / to comment multiple lines together. So then how do you configure it? Another way is you can use AWS configure. But to use AWS configure, what are all the tools you need to have?
AWS CLI.
AWS CLI, that's all. How to install AWS CLI we have seen. I have installed it on my Windows also, if you remember in EKS classes. So use AWS configure, put your access key, secret key and the region. That will help you connect your AWS. You don't need to put them here. Okay, let it be. I have already some credentials configured. So that's all. Now I don't need to put them here. Now that I have a configured 8, let us do Terraform init again. It's taking a while, but here there's nothing to do except configuring it. Right. This will help you connect your infrastructure. After connecting to the infrastructure, you may want to create some infrastructure. You may want to configure it, right? So let us go ahead with the next step. First, let's go to our AWS console. Till now, how did we create our infrastructure? By going to this console, right? You go to the console, you click on those options, and that's how we created the infrastructure. Let's suppose I want to create an EC2 instance on this AP South one here. Till now we have went to this console, clicked on so many options to create it. But in real practice, at times you may not have access to the console, or else you may have to create multiple instances with custom configurations. How do you do that, right? So let's get started with it. Let's go and see for EC2 instance. Here it is. And this is the block of code which will help you create the instance. Now let us add this block. Copy this. Okay, it was all done. Now let's add this block. That's all. Instance, my instance name is web. You can put the AMI whichever you need. How do you get the AMI? Like if you just go here, launch instance. What is this data sources? I'll tell you here now. For now, I'm hard coding it, but automatically how to get the AMI also we'll see. For now, let me get the AMI from here. Just taking time to load this page. So I'll show you how to get them. And instance type. Instance type is I'm choosing t2.micro, right? And any name if you want to give to instance, right? You can put some instance name here. Let's say I would like to put it was Terraform instance, like let's say Terraform first instance, right? Something like that. And now see here is the instance type. Yeah. See, do you see the AMI ID here? This is for Amazon Linux 2023. I would choose Amazon Linux too, which is free tier eligible. And accordingly, it will provide you the AMI ID. AMI means Amazon machine image, whether you want a Windows instance or a Linux instance, or again in Linux, CentOS, Ubuntu, Red Hat, whichever type. Here I'm choosing Amazon Linux too, which is like Red Hat and Fedora or CentOS systems. And it will give me that AMI ID. That AMI ID I'm going to provide in the code. Okay, this is the AMI ID. How to automate it also we'll see. That's all. Right? Region, everything is chosen. So it should create an instance by name web. Other configurations I'm not customizing it. Like I'm not using my own VPC and all. We'll do that also. But for now, just creating instance with two configurations, AMI ID and the type. Okay, so how do you do that? First, Terraform, before running Terraform apply, there is something called Terraform plan. Terraform plan will show you all the details of what it's going to automate, but it will not really create them. It's like a preview or else a pre-check before you go ahead. So let me run the Terraform plan. This is the document. This is the Terraform plan Terraform would create before creating the infrastructure. It's taking a while to generate the plan, but generally it would be done immediately. Somehow it's lagging for me. So it will create the plan. Here you can see all the details, what are all the things it would be creating. Once you are okay with it, you can do Terraform apply. That's the life cycle of Terraform. Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform apply. Apply means actual infrastructure would be created. I think actually at the backend it has done. Here it's not showing. See here. Whenever it does plan, do you see a file called Terraform state file? It's gone. It will come up again. See, Terraform uses selected providers to generate the executed plan. In the architecture, that's what we discussed, right? Terraform will use the respected providers to create the plan. Resource actions are indicated with the symbol. Plus indicates it will create the infrastructure. See, it has created this infrastructure called web and AMI. All other values will be known after apply because I did not configure it. Only these two values were configured. Everything will be known because when you create an instance at the backend, so many things would be created, right? all of those values it was showing. Plan, one to add. Plan is to create one, nothing to change, nothing to destroy. So if you really want to apply, now you can run Terraform apply. Whenever you does this at the first time at the back end, Terraform state file will be generated. Let's wait and watch. Do you see here Terraform state file? What is this Terraform state file? Terraform state file will have the current state of the infrastructure, all the details of the infrastructure, like name of the instance, type of the instance, all of that it would create, right? It will have all that sensitive data. Let this finish, I'll show you.
Pretty, before you use Terraform apply, do we need to use out option there? There is a note.
What is the note? You did not use out option to save this plan. So Terraform can't guarantee exactly these actions if you run Terraform apply. Out is if you want to store the Terraform plan. Earlier Terraform plan was generated, right? If you want to store it into a file, you can use that out option. See, whenever I do apply, it was again showing all of this and it's asking for confirmation. You have to confirm to apply, like yes, then only it will proceed. And when you click this Terraform state, it was still working on, that's why it was saying unable to open. Leave it for some time. See, it has got closed. Let it generate, right? Creating an invalid AMI not found. This AMI does not exist. Which region we have used? Why it doesn't exist? See, we have used the region AP South 1. And from where did I take the AMI? From North Virginia. Obviously, it will not work. AMI IDs will differ from region to region. I'm using AP South 1, Mumbai. So you should choose the AMI from Mumbai region. Let us go ahead, get the AMI. Can get the same. See, the ID differs from region to region. Okay, now let's do Terraform apply. It will ask for confirmation and it will create the instance. It failed, so it doesn't create any infrastructure here. Okay. It will ask for confirmation you need to provide and then it will create. And coming back, yeah. So you have done Terraform plan. Right? It will create a plan. It's showing you the plan. If you want to save this plan, you can use out, give some file name and save it into some file. Okay, this is for later on when you are applying. Okay, let's suppose I'm applying after 1 hour. Even though you make changes to your code, if you want to apply the previous plan, you can provide this file, the plan you can provide, so that that plan will be applied. Otherwise, whatever code present, that will apply. That's for out command. We don't need that one now. So one to add, one instance is created. Confirm it. Yes. It's not created, it's telling it will create it. You have to confirm it with yes to proceed further and create it. See? Instance creating plus indicates all these resources will be created. Am I audible? Still having audio issues?
Yes, you are audible. You are muted.
Oh, okay. So this is the state file and state backup file. State file will have the current state of the infrastructure, including all sensitive data, everything about your infrastructure. State backup file will have the previous state of the infrastructure. Previously, we don't have any infrastructure, so it was showing nothing. So these two files will be generated when you apply Terraform for the first time. And again, we don't need to version control them, right? Because they contain all sensitive data. So let's go to Terraform, git ignore, and also ignore these files. tar.tf state, whatever ending with tf state, we don't need to version control them. Also star.tf state dot backup, right? So, and they will not be version control. See, they were actually grayed out. tf state dot backup. Even this should be ignored, right? So that's all. Coming back. Yeah, it has created the infrastructure. Let's see. Let's refresh this page. Yeah, can you see that? Right? Can you see Terraform -1? Right? Instance ID, everything. You can just work like before. You can connect to it. You can do anything you want. It's again a normal EC2 instance with all the default VPC, default configurations, because we did not configure, we did not specify or customize anything. Right? That's a simple way to create the infrastructure. And also, let me show you many things here. We have the state files, right? It will show you all the infrastructure information. If you want to see what are all the infrastructure it has created, Terraform state list. This will show you list of the infrastructure, list of the resources Terraform has created. It has got one resource. See, that's a resource name. If you want to see the details of it, Terraform state show this resource name. Of course, whatever is it is showing here, it will show you, but here it's very difficult to check all the information. You can check this way also. Right? So that's how you create it. Now, okay, infrastructure is created. Can we modify it? Let's suppose I want to use another instance type or whatever. You can do. Okay, see, state show command will show you all the infrastructure information. You can see particular instance information, particular resource information also by doing type of the instance and name of the instance. Okay, and then now let's say you want to modify the infrastructure. It is possible. This is a simple modification. Okay, but you can do lot many things. See, I'm just modifying this. Now, first let's do Terraform plan. Terraform plan will tell you what are all the things it's modifying. It will not apply. It will just show you the changes. Changes will be shown with the tilde. See here the thing. Modifications, updates will be shown with tilde operator. It was showing tilde TF1, Terraform 1, right? It was showing that way, TF1 or Terraform tilde operator, right? One to change. It's showing like one information will be changed. If you want to apply it, Terraform apply. Again, it will ask for confirmation. Instead of it asking confirmation again, you can do auto approve so that it will apply the changes. See, here it will show you one to change. Change will be applied. If you refresh this, I'm just changing this name tag. It's still modifying. Now modification completed. Let us refresh now. Yeah, do you see that? Interesting, isn't it? So you create infrastructure. This is how you modify your infrastructure. And you can also destroy your infrastructure. How do you destroy? Let's suppose I don't want anything. Terraform destroy. That's all.
Can we stop or restart the instances using Terraform?
Yeah, you can do restart. Yeah, there are resources or options you can do, but generally that would be taken care by configuration management tools like Ansible. That's a better way to do.
Okay.
Right, it says, see, it was refreshing the state. See, minus indicates it is destroying them. See here, right, destroy. Right, it can update, it can destroy the infrastructure. This would be destroying all the infrastructure, whatever you have. I'm not writing yes here. Okay, I don't want to proceed. So this is one thing. Or else what you can do is like we have seen state list. It will list what are all the infrastructure present. As I have only one, it was showing that particular resource. Otherwise, it will show you what are all the infrastructure present. Suppose if you don't want to destroy the whole infrastructure, if you want to only destroy any particular instance also, you can do. Like Terraform destroy target, which resource you want. Only let's suppose this resource. That is best method so that you can point out which resource you want to destroy, not the entire infrastructure, right? So this is one way to destroy the infrastructure. Let's suppose it is destroyed, it's gone. Now I'll approve and it will be gone. When you see the code, it is saying whenever someone sees the code, they think that, okay, one resource is present. But what is the actual state after destroying? There will be no resources here, isn't it? So always the best practice is for like when you are using IAC, infrastructure as a code concept, your code should represent the infrastructure. Means it says it's having one resource, means the one resource should be present. Your code should always represent the infra. That's what is the concept of IAC, right? Looking at the code or configuring the code. Configuring the looking at the infrastructure or configuring the infrastructure with code. So always your code should represent the actual infrastructure. But if you do destroy, your code is showing something else, actual infrastructure is something else, right? So do you think this is the best method to destroy the infrastructure? Is this how we should destroy or delete or remove something if you don't want? I'm confirming it. Okay, say still destroying. See, shutting down. Do you see that? Terminating, shutting down. So, terminated. Right? It says yes, deletion completed. Now, if you see the state list shows the actual state, right? There'll be no resources because there's nothing. But your code is saying, yes, there is one resource. So always the best practice is if you don't want the infrastructure, if you want to delete or destroy, remove it from the code. Okay, I have commented it. Then apply. That's always the best practice. Don't do destroy. Make changes in your code, remove the code if you don't want it, then apply. That is always the best practice. Making sense? Rather than rather than destroy, you should make changes to your code to delete the infrastructure, like remove the code block and apply. This is the best practice because, like I said, your code should represent the infrastructure. So this might be again important interview question, like how do you destroy infrastructure? What is the preferable method or what is the best approach? Clear, everyone? So
Yes,
this
Preeti.
is one thing. Okay, it says there is no changes because like already it is deleted and I'm deleting from here, so no changes. Okay, let's suppose I'll reapply. Okay, apply with auto approve, so it should create an instance. And okay, fine, let's say instance is created. What if you reapply your code? Means infrastructure is already there, already there. What if you rerun? Will it recreate the infrastructure as many number of times you run the code? It should create an infrastructure now. Your infrastructure matches the configuration, means no changes, means what actually present, you're having it. See, Terraform is compared your real infrastructure, again use the configuration and no difference found. That's what is Terraform plan does, right? So no changes needed. So because now there is a difference, it's executing, it will create an infrastructure. See, one to add, and as we did auto approve, it should create it. Okay, it was creating now. See, it was coming up. Right, do you see it was in pending and in few seconds it should be ready. 10 seconds lapsed. Okay, it says one added. Now if you look in, yes, it is there. Okay, now what happens if you rerun? What happens now? Will it recreate another instance? It will not recreate, it will compare the real infrastructure with the desired infrastructure. Design configuration means this one, it is same, so it does nothing. Right, this concept is called idempotency. Idempotency means this is the fancy term used. All configuration management tools follows idempotency. Means if configurations were in place, it will not redo or recreate the things. Okay, it will just say configurations were in place and it will move on like it has done before, like some time back when we deleted the infrastructure. Whether it is deletion or creation, it will just check with the actual with the desired configurations. If it matches, it just says nothing to do. See, no changes. Infrastructure matches the configuration, no changes needed. Right? This is what you have to remember. Even Ansible follows idempotency. It's not that whenever you rerun, it will reapply the change. Right? This is the Terraform life cycle, like creating, modifying, or updating, whatever you call, or replicating. Replicating, we'll see tomorrow how to replicate the infrastructure. We have seen deleting, updating, destroying, creating, updating, destroying. These three things we have. This is called Terraform life cycle. Right? These are the commands we have seen. Terraform plan, Terraform init, plan, approve, destroy. Tomorrow we shall see customizing our infrastructure and many other things like data sources, output values, and so on. We shall stop here for today and we'll continue with the next part. Also, we have seen version controlling your Terraform code. Any questions in this part from anyone?
Preeti, can you please comment this out and then apply it? Just want to see like how it is.
We have just seen that, right, Kiran? We have seen that. It will destroy. You are saying you are not having the code. We have seen that with the destroy, the same thing.
Correct. Yes.
Now you have the infrastructure one instance. Now it will destroy it.
Okay. So this is the best practice. Like first we
No.
comment out and then apply.
Yeah.
So that okay. Okay.
Rather than using destroy, this is how you should. Any more questions?
Uh, just to practice it, like
Hmm.
I'm using my laptop, but it is office provided. So
Hmm.
probably I cannot install this Terraform on this. So
Hmm.
is it okay? Like I create one instance on AWS, then install Terraform there, and then
Yeah.
practice it again.
Yes. Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. Here you used it for Windows. There I need to use for Linux.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Preeti, do we need to configure any specific port for communication?
Not required. No ports required. They are not communicating on the ports. They're communicating via the provider.
Okay.
See, one to destroy. It was destroying. It was showing all of them will be gone. And one destroyed. Terminated. If you reapply, your code is having nothing. Also, there's nothing on real. So they were same. It says no changes to be done. So practice till this part. Understand the Terraform lifecycle. We will look into many other things in the next session. Any more questions from anyone else? See. All right, then we shall close here and we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you all. Good day, everyone.
Thank you, Preeti.
Thank you.